What's up everyone, Art here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install the OVERTAKE VA WRX top mount intercooler. You guys just got a little glimpse of the black coated top mount that we're going to be putting onto that car. But before we do, I want to show you the other option we have, which is the silver. And they come as complete kits, so I want to go through what you guys can expect in your kit when you unbox it. Obviously, the package buy card with my name on it in this case, OVERTAKE sticker, and the install guide QR to this video. And then up here, you're going to see some packaging material, but you'll notice parts in here, so make sure not to throw this out until you fully take everything out. Now in this top piece, you're going to see a coupler, a lower and an upper splitter as well. Next up, we'll see another box that holds a couple of nice things, including OVERTAKE license plate frames. You guys can stick those on your car after the install is all done. And then in the other side, you'll see the weather stripping bulb gasket that you're gonna put on the splitter pieces, and then fresh hardware and clamps right there. Then obviously, we got the main event right here, the top mount intercooler itself. And let's pull it out of the packaging so I can show you guys the silver version. Let's do a quick overview of exactly what's in the kit. As I mentioned, the bottom and lower splitter right there. You're gonna have 2 clamps for this coupler, and then 8 nuts and 12 bolts. Obviously, one of the intercoolers, either the black or the silver, and then you're gonna have some of this gasket that's 3 longer pieces and then 2 of these shorter. Now, as I mentioned, I'm gonna install this black intercooler in our VA WRX, and before we take any of this stuff off the table, let's head over to the car and take off the factory intercooler. Now, thankfully on the FA20 engine, this is super easy. It's just a couple of bolts and clamps. I'm gonna run you through it right here and then speed through the process myself. Basically, it's these 2 bolts on the bracket here, the isolator grommet there. Right here, you're gonna have a clamp for the throttle body coupler, and then on the passenger side, another clamp for the charge pipe. This isolator grommet needs to come off, and then this whole unit will pull up and out. Now, the other thing we have to remove is the under hood cowl right here. Now, typically you have a couple of bolts, one there, one over here, and then a series of plastic clips all the way around. You guys can see ours is missing those because it's a development car. So just go around, take those off, and the whole unit will come off in one piece. It's super crazy seeing these side by side and just how much nicer the OVERTAKE unit is compared to the factory. Now you can see width-wise, it's almost half of the width, and it's got these crimped plastic end tanks. As these age, I've known these to separate and you get some really bad boost leaks. A lot of people just toss these out. They feel like a piece of trash. Now over here, our much nicer unit. I don't have enough time in this video to go into all the details, but luckily our lead engineer, Chase and Owen, sat down and they talked about these. I'm gonna put a link in our description so you guys can check out the more engineering talk. We'll stick to just installing in this video. Speaking of install, the first thing we're gonna wanna do is get the longest piece of bulb gasket on this lower splitter portion. So I'm gonna start in the corner here and just work my way around, make sure that this seats nicely on here. And I would say the most challenging part is gonna be in the corners here. You just wanna give it a nice bend, and then again, make sure they're kind of seated on nice and tightly. If you did it right, you should have a nice close connection point to where you started, and then all of your edges should be seated nicely. You can go back after the fact and massage them in just a little bit. And then we're gonna put this on our intercooler in this orientation. And use the provided hardware to bolt on all 4 sides of it. The easiest way to do this, because the bulb gasket is going to be fighting you just a little bit, is to start all 4 of the bolts and then go back around, and you can tighten them, just making sure that the flange of the splitter ends up sitting flush with the intercooler, and the bulb gasket will be sealed nicely. One thing worth mentioning at this point is there is a little bit of adjustment in the bulb gasket here. You can see it gets squished down and some of it could overhang on the fins. So you guys could use this as an opportunity to move this out of the way. If you need to loosen the splitter a little bit, you can do that. It's a little bit easier than in the car. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is just the coupler differences. You notice that we provide a coupler like this for our kit. Now it's gonna go in this area here, versus the OEM one has a bit more of an involved coupler, kind of like that. Now let me bring our intercooler over there and I'll show you where that coupler is. In our case, we have a overtake unit in its place. We can take it off because we're not going to be reusing this style. And then the intercooler is just going to fit up in the stock location. We have to finesse it in here a little bit, and then it'll hook up to the throttle body and then this end to the charge pipe. Before we get the intercooler seated in here, we want to take that coupler, mount it on the throttle body, and then take one of the clamps and we can tighten it down on the throttle body side. As you probably noticed, the OVERTAKE intercooler is substantially larger than the factory one, so it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get everything in here, but I do promise that it fits. It may even require you getting all up in the car like this in order to finesse it in, but eventually, once we clearance the stuff in the back, we could slide it onto that throttle body coupler and then eventually the charge pipe. There you have it. The OVERTAKE top mount intercooler fits perfectly in the space and it looks awesome, way better than stock. Now the next thing I want to do before I start bolting everything together is throw on a set of the OVERTAKE isolator bushings. These are just a really pretty design. They fit on either end. Chances are the factory ones are either worn out or you've just outright lost them. So fitting these up is kind of a must at this point. One little hint I want to give with something like the throttle body coupler is if you loosen the clamp the whole way, you could seat it on there after the fact. Now, sometimes having 2 clamps and putting the intercooler on at the same time can be a little bit of a challenge. I like to do this and then get it tightened up after the fact. As you guys saw, I went through and just put all the bolts and clamps on. Now these are just hand tight until I can get everything into place. Now obviously an intercooler of this size with these many connection points has a little give and play into it. So just make sure you have it placed where you want it and then go through and start tightening things up. Another thing I want to mention, we haven't really talked much about the charge pipe on here. You can obviously see this is an OVERTAKE unit. This is a really good mod to do at the same time as the intercooler. So I'll leave a link in our description for the charge pipe as well. You guys can have more or less a complete package. So let's start with the grommet over here, the clamps and everything else all the way to this bracket and hose, and we'll get this tightened up. The final part of this install has to do with the upper splitter and the remaining 4 pieces of bulb gasket and all of the hardware. The first thing you're going to want to do is take this piece right here. You could just slide it on to the front right there. Then the longer piece is going to connect, so you guys just need to make sure they're touching in this area, and then work your way around like you did on the lower piece. Now, the corners are always the toughest part, but once you get it seated in there, you can massage it in and it'll be just fine. Then when we get to the other end, it should click in exactly in that same spot. And the 2 pieces that remain will go right here and right here. Now you're going to feel these are a little bit on the looser side, but they're meant to be. They're going to be adjustable and they're going to be held on by the hood themselves once there's a little pressure on there. Next up involves some destruction to the factory hood cowl piece. You'll notice this rubber liner. We need to get rid of this because our splitter is going to go in its place. Now it has these plastic little pieces. There's no saving these, and you don't need to because we provide hardware. So what I do is just pop them with a tool like this. You could use a flathead, but you're probably going to have a harder time. Basically, you're going to want to go around, get those out, and then you'll notice there are some additional pieces. Flip this, and you'll want to do it on these sides as well. Ultimately, we're going to be reusing these holes so we can pop out any of the remaining clips in there. And then just keep going around until this entire rubber piece is off. With all the bulb gasket on the upper splitter, it's time to insert it into the cowl portion. Now this is gonna be maybe a little bit more on the confusing side, so take a look at the orientation of how I'm holding this and how this is laid out on the table. Basically, you're gonna wanna insert this piece just like that. And ultimately, we're gonna need to mate it up to these 5 holes right here. So keep going through. And then on this side where you see fins, this part of the splitter is going to go underneath, and then it'll match up to these 3 holes right here. If you've mounted everything correctly, this is what it's going to look like from the other side. You've got the 5 holes that we're going to put the bolts through. Those aren't a problem at all. On the top side, you can see they're a little bit more squared off. Now, if you really wanted to, you could take a drill bit to that and just round it off. Or the fast and easy way is just a screwdriver, jam it in there and open up a little space. That way we're going to be able to get the hardware in there nicely. And then take those 8 pieces that we have left and tighten everything up. Here we go, we're nearing the end stages of this install. And I just want to show you the theory behind this. You see the hood cowl and the splitter connected. What they're going to do once the hood is shut is essentially form a seal on here and divert all that fresh air through the intercooler, keeping things cool. Now, obviously, this is just the reverse of taking it out. So find the mounting locations there, and then put your bolts through. And for those of you not missing all of your factory clips, put those in all around. And just like that, we are finished up with the install on the OVERTAKE VA WRX top mount intercooler. All in all, it's pretty easy. I would even say a fun install. If I wasn't filming, it would have taken me probably just under an hour. There's really no major difficulties here, just pretty straightforward, especially if you watch this video. Now, one thing worth mentioning is you do not need a Pro Tune in order to run this. You guys can throw this in the charge pipe on just fine. The car will be safe, but it is one of those mods that kind of comes into its own as you start tuning, raising the horsepower and boost pressure. The last thing for you to do is just go through all the clamps and bolts, make sure it's all nice and tight. You don't want to be blowing any of the couplers off while you're test driving this thing, but if you did it right, you should be good to go. If you guys want to pick up either this black or the silver unit I showed you before, just click the link in the description or hop straight to overtakeusa.com to pick up your kit.